If you've had your gallbladder removed, or someone you love has, there's something your surgeon probably never sat down and told you. You went into that operating room expecting one simple fix. Take out the troublemaker, stop the pain, go home, and get back to your life. And for a little while, maybe that's exactly what happened. But here's what so many people don't realize until months, sometimes years later. Your gallbladder wasn't just some spare part sitting in there doing nothing. It had a job. And when it's gone, your body has to find a new way to handle something it used to manage every single day, multiple times a day, without you ever thinking about it. Maybe you've noticed things that seem small at first. A little more trouble after certain meals. Bathroom habits that changed and never quite went back to normal. Or maybe it's something less obvious. Changes in your energy, your digestion, even how your body handles the fat in the food you eat. If any of that sounds familiar, I want you to know something right now. You are not imagining it, and you are far from alone. Today, we're going to talk honestly about what actually happens inside your body after gallbladder removal. Not the scary version. Not the version that makes you afraid to eat dinner with your family. The real version, the one most doctors are simply too rushed to explain in a 15-minute appointment. We'll talk about why some people adjust just fine, while others struggle for a while without understanding why. We'll talk about a mistake a lot of people make in the first few months, one that quietly makes things harder down the road. And we'll talk about what you can actually do, starting today, to help your body adapt the way it's meant to. Because here's the truth. Your body is remarkably good at adjusting. It just needs a little help and a little understanding to do it well. So, if you've ever wondered why things haven't felt quite the same since that surgery, stay with me. What we cover in the next few minutes might just connect some dots you've been trying to figure out for a long time. Let's start with something most people are never told before they go into surgery. Your gallbladder isn't just a random little pouch. It's a storage tank. Every day, your liver makes something called bile, which your body uses to break down fat from the food you eat. Before surgery, that bile had a holding tank, a place to sit, get concentrated, and wait until you actually needed it, like right after a meal. Once your gallbladder is removed, that storage tank is gone. But your liver doesn't stop making bile. It just keeps producing it slowly and steadily, dripping it directly into your digestive system throughout the day. Think about what that means. Before, your body released a strong, concentrated burst of bile exactly when it was needed, right after a meal, especially a meal with fat in it. Now, you're getting more of a slow trickle instead. Weaker at any given moment, less timed to your meals. For a lot of people, this is exactly where the story gets confusing. Because right after surgery, many folks feel fine, maybe even better than before, since the gallbladder pain is finally gone. So they assume everything is back to normal. But here's where a lot of people make a mistake. They go right back to eating the way they always did. The big holiday dinner, the fried chicken on Sunday, the buttery mashed potatoes, without giving their body any time to adjust to this new, quieter system it's now working with. And that's when symptoms can start creeping in. Maybe it's urgency after eating, having to rush to the bathroom not long after a meal. Maybe it's bloating that seems to come out of nowhere. Maybe it's loose stools that never quite firm, back up the way they used to. Some people notice they feel fine most days, but certain meals, especially rich or greasy ones, hit them hard and fast. If you've experienced any of this, I want you to really hear this next part. This usually isn't a sign that something is broken, and it isn't a sign that the surgery failed. It's your digestive system adapting to a different way of processing fat, without the tool it used to rely on. For most people, this adjustment happens within the first few months. For others, it can take longer, and understanding why can make it a lot less unsettling. Now, I do want to pause here and draw a clear line because this is important. Bloating, urgency, and loose stools after meals, that's the kind of thing we're talking about today, and it's usually just adjustment. But ongoing pain, especially in the upper right side of your belly, fever, chills, or any yellowing of your skin or eyes, those are not part of normal adjustment. Those can be signs of something like a retained stone in the bile duct or another complication, and they need to be checked by a doctor right away, not managed with diet changes. Keep that distinction in mind as we go. Here's something else that catches people off guard. This isn't always a short-term adjustment. For some people, the body settles into a new rhythm within a few months. For others, digestive changes can persist longer, or even show up later after not being a problem at all in the beginning. Why the difference? Age can play a role. So can overall diet, especially how much fat is typically in someone's meals. And so can something most people never think about, the balance of bacteria in the gut that help your digestive system process what the liver is sending its way. That gut connection is actually a bigger part of this story than most people realize. And it helps explain something that confuses a lot of folks years after surgery: why digestive issues can seem to settle down and then unexpectedly flare back up. So let's talk about that gut connection because it explains a lot of what people experience down the road. Your digestive system is home to trillions of bacteria, and they play a real role in how your gut handles bile and fat together. Before gallbladder removal, bile arrived in a concentrated burst, did its job efficiently, and moved through your system in a fairly predictable rhythm. After surgery, that rhythm changes, and for some people, more bile than usual reaches the colon instead of being fully reabsorbed earlier in the digestive tract. That excess bile can irritate the colon lining and speed things up, which is part of why diarrhea and urgency happen. This is sometimes called bile acid diarrhea, and it's more common after gallbladder removal than most people realize, yet it's rarely explained clearly at that quick follow-up appointment. Here's something that might surprise you. Bile acid diarrhea can show up right away for some people. For others, it doesn't become noticeable until later, often after some other change in life, a new medication, a shift in diet, or a change in weight, tips things just enough to bring it to the surface. This is exactly why so many people feel confused. They'll say, "I was fine for the first few years. Why is this happening now?" And often the honest answer is that the body had been compensating reasonably well, until something shifted the balance enough to make the underlying change noticeable. There's another piece of this that's worth understanding, and it has to do with fat-soluble vitamins. Vitamins A, D, E, and K need fat and bile to be properly absorbed. When bile delivery becomes less matched to larger, fattier meals, it's possible for absorption of these vitamins to become slightly less efficient over time. I want to be careful here, because this part gets exaggerated online. For most people who've had their gallbladder removed, fat and vitamin absorption stays adequate, especially with a reasonably balanced diet, and this isn't something that leads to serious deficiency for the majority of patients. But for a smaller group of people, especially those with ongoing bile acid diarrhea or a very low-fat or very restrictive diet, absorption can be affected enough that it's worth mentioning to a doctor, particularly if you're also dealing with unexplained fatigue, changes blood work picks up, or bone density concerns at a checkup. The point isn't to worry you. It's to know that if a doctor raises this, there's a real, understandable reason it could be connected to your surgery. There's one more misunderstanding that trips up a lot of people, and it's about the word fat-free. Many people assume that after gallbladder removal, the safest path is to avoid fat almost entirely. It sounds logical. Less fat, less work for the digestive system, right? But that's not quite how it works, and the truth about fat after gallbladder removal might be different from what you've been told. Cutting fat down to nearly zero after gallbladder removal isn't the solution, and for a lot of people it can actually make things harder. Here's why. Your body still needs some healthy fat to absorb those vitamins we just talked about and to support your brain, hormones, skin, and joints. If you swing too far the other way and avoid fat almost entirely, you can trade one problem for another. The real key isn't avoiding fat. It's changing how you eat it. Instead of one big fatty meal, like a large plate of fried food or a heavy cream-based dish, your body generally does better with smaller amounts of fat spread more evenly across the day. Your liver is sending out more of a steady trickle of bile now instead of one strong burst, so it makes sense to eat in a way that matches that. Smaller, more frequent meals rather than 3 large ones with long gaps in between. This is where a lot of people notice a real difference, sometimes within a couple of weeks. Swapping one big dinner for a smaller dinner plus a light snack later in the evening. Choosing grilled chicken instead of fried. Adding avocado or olive oil in modest amounts, rather than heavy butter or cream sauces. These aren't extreme changes. They're small shifts that work with your body's new rhythm instead of against it. Fiber plays a surprisingly useful role here too. Soluble fiber, the kind found in foods like oats, apples, and beans, can help bind excess bile acids in the digestive tract. For people dealing with urgency or looseness after meals, slowly increasing soluble fiber, and I do mean slowly, can make a noticeable difference over several weeks. Now here's a common mistake, and I want you to really pay attention to this one, because it's easy to fall into without realizing it. Many people, especially after struggling with digestive discomfort, start skipping meals altogether, thinking it'll help. It usually backfires. Long gaps without eating can make bile release less predictable, not more. Your digestive system tends to do better with a gentle, consistent rhythm, rather than long stretches of nothing followed by a large meal. Hydration matters here too. Staying well hydrated throughout the day supports smoother digestion overall, and this is especially worth paying attention to for older adults, since thirst signals naturally become less reliable with age, meaning many people end up mildly dehydrated without realizing it. There's one more detail some people find helpful. Eating a lighter meal in the evening rather than a very large, late one tends to sit better for many people managing this adjustment. It's not a hard rule for everyone, but it's worth experimenting with if evenings are when symptoms hit hardest. If you take a few of these adjustments and apply them consistently, most people notice real improvement, not overnight, but over a matter of weeks. And once you understand the why behind each of these habits, they stop feeling like restrictions and start feeling like working with your body instead of against it. So let's bring this all together, because if there's one thing I want you to walk away with today, it's this. What you've been experiencing since your gallbladder removal isn't random, and for most people, it isn't something to be afraid of. It's your body adjusting to a real, physical change. And once you understand what's actually happening inside you, it becomes a lot less confusing. Your liver never stopped working for you. It's still making bile every single day, just on a different rhythm than before. Your job now is simply to help your body work with that new rhythm instead of expecting it to function exactly the way it did before surgery. That means smaller, more frequent meals instead of large ones. It means being thoughtful about fat, not fearful of it, choosing healthier sources and spreading them out instead of cutting them out completely. It means giving soluble fiber a chance to do its quiet work, staying hydrated throughout the day, and paying attention to how your body responds. And maybe most importantly, it means understanding that if new symptoms show up years after your surgery, that doesn't necessarily mean something has gone wrong out of nowhere. Often, it means something shifted, A change in diet, a change in medication, or simply the passage of time, and your body is asking for a little extra support to find its balance again. If any of what we talked about today sounds familiar, please don't just brush it off as something you have to live with forever. Small, consistent changes really can make a meaningful difference, and it's never too late to start working with your body instead of against it. And if something feels persistent or concerning, and remember what we talked about earlier, pain, fever, or yellowing skin are always worth an urgent call, not a wait. Please bring it up with your doctor rather than trying to self-diagnose from a video. Persistent diarrhea, unexplained fatigue, or signs of nutrient deficiency also deserve a proper evaluation, not guesswork. You know your body better than anyone, and you deserve real answers, not just a quick explanation rushed through in a 15-minute visit. You've made it through so much already. Your body has been quietly adapting, doing its best to keep you going every single day since that surgery. Give it the support it's asking for, and more often than not, it will reward you with steadier digestion, more comfortable days, and a little more confidence in how you feel. If this video helped connect some dots for you, share it with someone else who's had their gallbladder removed. Chances are they've been wondering about these very same things, and they deserve to understand it too. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.